Planning outcomes, the Indian National Congress, Swadeshi movement, moderates and extremists, and the Home Rule Leagues. Many events occurred during the 19th century which had far-reaching consequences. The revolt of 1857, various peasant and tribals, revolts and movement, social cultural awakening and economic impact of imperialism completely changed the direction of इंडियन हिस्ट्री। अब जो 1857 के विद्रोह की जो चिंगारी थी वो ऐसी भड़की, उस चिंगारी ने जो है बहुत सारे आंदोलन और इंडिया भारत को जो है बहुत एक अलग डायरेक्शन, एक अलग दिशा दी। ठीक है, नेशनलिस्टिक फेवर had already been generated amongst the Indians. The second half of the 19th century saw the crystallization of political constituents among the masses. This awareness led to strengthening of the nationalist movement in India that culminated in her independence in August 1947. ठीक है, तो ये जो चिंगारियां होती है, कितने ही आंदोलन हुए, कितने ही जो फ्रीडम फाइटर्स थे उन्होंने अपना सहयोग किया और फाइनली क्या हुआ, 15 अगस्त 1947 को हमें फ्रीडम मिली। Reasons for the growth of national political constituencies. Indian national movement erupted as the direct result of conditions क्रिएटेड बाय द ब्रिटिश। तो जो है इंडियन नेशनल मूवमेंट जो था वो किसके, ब्रिटिश द्वारा उसका जो रिजल्ट था, उसकी कंडीशन थी जो ब्रिटिश सरकार द्वारा दिया गया। द एडवर्स सोशल पॉलिटिकल कल्चरल एंड इकोनॉमिक इम्पैक्ट ऑफ ब्रिटिश रूल वाज लार्जली रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर द ग्रोइंग पॉलिटिकल कॉन्शियसनेस among the Indian people. Some such reasons were: number one, though the revolt of 1857 failed to achieve its objective, its memory was still fresh in the minds of the people. The political consequences of the Indians was growing fast at the regional level and was reflected through various revolt and movements by the tribes, peasants, castes and religious communities. Spread of English education informed the Indians about the liberal political ideas of the West. Socio-religious reform of the country and the growing racial and economic exploitation of Indians by the British imperialists were the other reason. अब जो ब्रिटिश सरकार के द्वारा एक्सप्लोइटेशन हो रहा था ना, जो लोगों को परेशान करना है ना, जो जमींदार थे लगान उनका ज्यादा लेना, वो करना, ये सब चीजें क्या कर रही थी, भारतीयों को परेशान कर रही थी। The English educated middle class became the torch bearer of the struggle for independence. तो जो मिडिल क्लास के जो लोग थे ना, जो इंग्लिश पढ़ रहे थे, जो बाहर पढ़ने जा रहे थे, उनके लिए एक रोशनी, एक किरण दिखाई दी। The alignment middle class was familiar with the European liberal ideas and possessed a sense of pride in the country's glorious past. Gradually, they understood the foreign domination was opposed to the interests and aspiration of the Indian people. The study of Indology promoted a sense of pride in India's cultural and historical legacy. Indian newspapers and journals, both in English and vernacular languages, played a crucial role in building up a favorable public opinion at the national level. This articulated the spirit of nationalism while focusing upon the economic weakness caused by colonialism. सबसे अहम भूमिका किन्होंने निभाई, जर्नलिस्ट और न्यूज़पेपर ने। The growth of art and literature, the almost every Indian language gave further impetus to the feelings of nationalism. Dramas like Neel Darpan and novels like Anand Mat, written by Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, which also contained the soul-stirring and immortal song Vande Mataram. Newspapers such as the Kesari and Maratha started in 1881 by the intellectual like Bal Gangadhar Tilak versus Chiplumkar, G.G. Agarkar and M.B. Namjoshi aroused nationalistic ideas among the Indians. Pre-Indian National Congress organization. The Indian National Congress was not the first political association to be set up in the country. Many other occasions had come up earlier whose members were mostly middle-class professionals. The pre-Congress association cropped up mostly in and around the three presidency towns of Kolkata, Chennai, Madras and Mumbai. In 1875, There were 474 newspapers in circulating, including Amrit Bazaar, Patrika Hindu, Patriot, etc. English Hindustan, Bharat Mitra, Jagat Mitra, etc. in Hindi, and Jamijan, Numa, and Khujdil in Urdu. In Bengal, the Indian League 1875 was established with Shishir Kumar Ghosh, editor of Amrit Bazar Patrika. So, as the leader, the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha was set up by M.G. Ranade, G.V. Joshi, and S.H. Chiplankar, and asked the representative of Bombay and Bengal to work together. Anand Mohan Bose and Surendranath Banerjee set up the Indian Association. Bombay Presidency Association was founded by the Firoz Shah Mehta, K.T. Telang, and Badruddin Tabzi. These two associations worked in close collaboration. The Madras Mahajan Sabha in 1884 was formed to coordinate the activities of local associations. The Deccan Education Society also worked along the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha and paid attention to political and general public questions. Political bodies were established in other parts of India too. Two such examples are Allahabad People's Association and the Indian Association of Lahore. Attempts were made since 1880 onwards for bringing together such association on an all-India scale. The Indian Association of Calcutta organized two national conferences in 1883 and 1885. So, the British Indian Association, the Indian Association, or at the National Mohammedan Association convened the 1885 meeting jointly, thus marking the beginning of the Congress. In a letter in 1886, the National Conference led by Sundarnath Banerjee merged with the Congress. So, the British government offensively reacted to these activities of the Indians. The Viceroy Lord Lytton openly followed reactionary and anti-Indian policies. With success, Lord Ripon tried to ease the situation, but the Albert Bill controversy earned him the wrath of not only Indians but also the English man. The Indian intelligentsia were now convinced that justice and fair play could not be expected from the British. They also realized that there was no substitute for organized agitation for the attainment of self-British. They clearly understood that there was no substitute for organized agitation for the attainment of self-respect. The Indian National Congress, Bharatiya Rashtriya Congress, though it generally believed that AOU, a retired British bureaucrat, was instrumental in setting up Indian National Congress, its actual foundation was a direct corollary of the contemporary socio-economic and political conditions prevailing at the time during the 1880. The idea of an all-India organization was very much in the air. This inaugural session of the Indian National Congress was held on December 28, 1885 at Bombay. This season was described as a middle-class darbar in which the congressmen were merely concerned with obtaining the blessing of British rulers. But later on, it provided a suitable platform to give voice to the growing resentment of Indians. Vymosh Chandra Banerjee, the president of the first Congress, outlined the objectives of the Congress as follows. Number one, the promotion of personal friendship among us, the people of the country. Number two, removal of all prejudice relating to race, creed, or provinces. Number three, promoting national unity. And four, deciding on a future course of action. The tactics adopted by the Congress included patrioting and drawing attention to the events by public discussions so as to attain the goal of representative institution in India. The Congress became the symbol of growth of a feeling of nationhood. It was a big leap towards the growth of nationalism. Moderates and extremists. The Indian National Congress evolved and grew between 1885 1905 when the moderates or the patriots dominated its rule. There emerged a section which believed in more aggressive action. They came to be known as the extremists or radicals. Differences in their ideological and political methods to be adopted against British rule led to their split in the Surat session of the Congress in 1907. Moderates. The demands of the Congress during its first phase 1885-1905 were very modest and centered around constitutional reforms, economic relief, administrative recognition and defense of civil rights. Although the moderates kept up with their demands, the British hardly responded to them. So these leaders concluded that British economic imperialism meant subordination of Indian economy and drain of wealth to England. Therefore, they demanded rapid development of indigenous industries and agriculture. They also wanted Indian control over the public purse and raised the slogan of no taxation without representation. The claim for Swaraj or self-rule also emerged by the beginning of the 20th century. British hostility towards the Congress increased with its slew of demands, following a policy of divide and rule. They encouraged the illegal movement led by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan, which led to the formation of the Muslim League in 1906. Whose aggressive policies led to the control of university education and the partition of Bengal in 1905. So, although the Congress in this early phase failed to achieve any concentrate reforms in different spheres, it succeeded in creating a wider national consciousness. It trained people in politics, popularized the ideas of democracy and nationalism, propagated. Moderate leaders were Dadabhai Nehruji, Surendranath Banerjee, Ramesh Chandra Datta, Mahadev Govind Ranade, and Gopal Krishna Gokhale. Now, let's talk about extremists 1905 to 18. So, the radical nationalist ideology in India had been growing since the revolt of 1857. By the turn of the century, the discontent had become widespread among rural gentry, peasantry, and workers. A large number of leaders become vocal in their demands and action. These leaders came to be known as the radical nationalists or extremists. The second phase of the Indian nationalism began after 1905. The period between 905 to 18 is known as the extremist phase of national movement. Lala Lajpat Rai, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, known as Lal Bal Pal, were the main extremist leader. Tilak was known as Lokmanya. He announced, Swaraj is my birthright and I shall have it. Swaraj ही मेरा जन्मसिद्ध अधिकार है. Causes of growth of radical nationalism. There were many reasons for the growth of radical nationalism, which are detailed as follows. Number one, revolutionary movements in Ireland and Russia inspired the Indians. Emergence of the radical nationalist school of thought with leaders like Aurobindo Ghosh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Lala Lajpat Rai, and Bipin Chandra Pal buttressed this inspiration. Number three, increase in unemployment with the spread of education was another reason. The politically conscientious Indians were disillusioned with the principle and methods of the moderate leadership. There was disappointment with the Indian Council Act of 1892 and bitterness against the British authorities due to calamities like plague and famine. Number six, repression. Measures like the law against sedition in 1898 and the official secrets of 1899 added fuel to the fire. The policies of Curzon culminated in the partition of Bengal in 1905, fanned the fire of freedom among the masses. The extremists suggested programs like the boycott of foreign goods, government services, and titles and honors. Besides these, they also supported the Swadeshi movement and nationalist education institution. So the next topic is partition of Bengal. The Bengal का partition हुआ था 1905. In 1905, Lord Curzon announced the partition of Bengal East Bengal with its capital at Dhaka यानी कि ढाका was carved out as a new province. This decision was effected as extension of his communal policy of divide and rule. Its aim was to awaken grown nationalism in Bengal by forming a Muslim bloc. ठीक है, अब इससे क्या हुआ, फूट डालो राज करो वाली नीति जो है सामने आ गई. It was justified on the ground that it was essential for administrative purpose, but in reality, the British wanted to stem the rising tide of nationalism. Indian leaders saw it as a deliberate attempt at dividing Indian people and thereby weaken growing nationalism. And all Indian anti-partition aggregations soon followed. Demonstrations and protests were observed. A huge crowd sang the national anthem composed by Rabindranath Tagore. Cruisen's policy ironically led to the intensification of sentiment among the people, which resulted in the Swadeshi and boycott movement. Communism was a 20th century development. This phenomenon tried to divide people on religious lines. So the next topic is Swadeshi movement. स्वदेशी अपनाओ, विदेशी का बहिष्कार करो. The anti-partition aggression was influenced by extremist leaders by launching Swadeshi and boycott movements. Use of Swadeshi goods and articles कि जो है हमारे जो स्वदेशी चीजें हैं हम उन्हें अपनाओ, and boycott of foreign products were the main instrument initially. The movement had a wide following and far-reaching consequence. ये जो movement है ये बहुत तेजी से उठा और फैला सारे में. ठीक है, अब the traditional method of respectful arrestment, pleading and patrioting give away to stormy upsurge, which paved the way for the ultimate acquisition Swaraj self-rule. Bengali students played a major role in the Swadeshi movement. तो जो बंगाली स्टूडेंट थे उनका मेन रोल था इस मूवमेंट, इस आंदोलन में. वुमेन स्पेशली ऑफ द मिडिल क्लास आल्सो एक्टिवली पार्टिसिपेटेड इन. जो मध्य श्रेणी की, मध्यम वर्ग की जो होती थी उन्होंने बहुत महत्वपूर्ण रोल निभाया इसमें. बाल गंगाधर तिलक, बिपिन चंद्र पाल एंड अरबिंदो घोष led the movement. The Swadeshi movement was an elaborate program of passive resistance propagated by Aurobindo Ghosh. It dealt with important issues like setting up national educational institutions, administration, judiciary, and also the schemes for social reform. In fact, the extremists emerged more powerful after this movement. और ये जो movement था इसने बहुत तेजी से काम किया. So the revolutionary trends in India and abroad, the freedom of the Balkan states from the clutches of the Ottoman Empire, the defeat of Italy at the hands of Abyssinia, Ethiopia in 1896, and the defeat of Russia by Japan in 1905 brought the impression of European superiority. Rampant unemployment coupled with the British policy of racial discriminations further increased the feeling of disaffection among the educated youth of the country. All these factors contributed to the rise of revolutionary movements against the British Empire. तो जैसे जैसे बच्चे एजुकेटेड हुए, उन्हें पढ़ना शुरू किया, सबको समझ आने लगा, तो क्या किया उन्होंने, उनके खिलाफ, ब्रिटिश सरकार के खिलाफ जो है आंदोलन शुरू कर दिए. Early in the 20th century, there began a first to form revolutionary groups in India. The first such revolution group was started around 1902 in Midnapur by Jayendranath Basu in Calcutta. The Anushilan Samiti was founded by Pramod Mittal, Jatendranath Banerjee and Barendra Kumar Ghosh. Other well-known secret revolutionary societies were the Yugantar, founded by Bhupendranath Datta, and Abhinav Bharat, established by V.D. Savarkar. However, these societies initiated physical and moral training of their members. तो ये ट्रेनिंग दे रहे थे अपने मेंबर्स को. But soon, sporadic revolutionary activities of a political nature were undertaken by Indian revolutionaries abroad. In 1905, Shyamji Krishna Verma set up the India House in London. It became the center of revolutionary activities outside India. He also launched the paper Indian Sociologist. The activities of India House became more radical after V.D. Savarkar joined it in 1907. So, other active members of the group were Virendranath Chattopadhyay, तिरुमलाचार्य, मैडम बिकाजी कामा, भाई परमानंदा, मदनलाल ढींगरा, Rajput Rai and Lala Hridayal. The plans to assassinate Lord Curzon, Lord Kitchener and Curzon Wiley, the ADC to the Secretary of State for India, were led here. The Revolutionary Brother Party was founded in 1930 in the USA. Lala Hridayal was its main leader. As soon as World War I broke out, the party decided to sell arms, money and men to India for staging a revolt against the British with the help of local revolutionaries. The movement took a new shape after the arrival of Rash Bihari Bose and Vishnu Ganesh Pingle. So, as the activities of the revolutionaries intensified in London and the USA, new centers emerged on the European continent. In 1907, Madame Kama attended the International Socialist Congress. So, at Stuttgart in Germany and unfurled the Indian national flag for the first time. During the war years, much of the revolutionary activities were centered in Berlin. In 1915, the Indian Independence Committee was set up with a view of liberate the country under the leadership of Virendranath Chattopadhyay, Bhupen Dutt and Lala Hridayal in collaboration with the German Foreign Office. The plan was called the Zimmermann Plan. In other development, Raja Mahendra Pratap, Bagtullah and Abdullah Sindhi set up a provisional government of Free India at Kabul. Thus, various attempts by revolutionary Indians were made to liberate the country, but their attempts did not succeed due to the lack of a long-term program. However, they succeeded in creating public awareness about India's suffering under the British oppression. So, birth of the Muslim League. Muslim League की स्थापना. The British tried their best to create cracks in the unity of Indians. वो बहुत अपना बेस्ट दे रहे थे कि किसी तरह इन भारतीयों को तोड़ा जाए. They followed the policy of divide and rule and openly declared that if the educated Muslim remain loyal to the group, अगर पढ़े हुए मुस्लिम जो है ब्रिटिश सरकार के लिए लॉयल हो जाएं, they would be rewarded with government jobs and other special favors. तो फिर क्या करेगी ब्रिटिश सरकार? उनको सरकारी नौकरी देगी और एक अदर स्पेशल जो है फेवर देगी. As a result, a large number of educated Muslims either remained a lot of turn against the nationalist movement. क्या हुआ? तो most of the educated Muslim थे ना, वो अंग्रेजों की तरफ हो गए. फिर लालच दे दिया उन्होंने. The communist tendencies attained new height in the year 1906 with the formation of the All India Muslim League. With official patronage, it supported the Persian of Bengal and demanded special safeguards for the Muslim in government सर्विसेज. अब क्या किया उन्होंने? उन्हें जो है सर्विसेज देनी शुरू कर दी, है ना. उन्हें एक सेफ जोन में रखा. इट कंसिस्ट मोस्टली ऑफ अपर क्लास मुस्लिम्स लाइक आगा खान, है ना, सलीमुल्लाह खान, द नवाब ऑफ ढाका एंड नवाब मोहसिनुल मुल्क. द ब्रिटिश प्रोपेगेंडा दैट द पार्टीशन ऑफ बंगाल वुड बेनिफिट द मुस्लिम लेड टू द राइज ऑफ कम्युनल वायलेंस. तो उन्होंने क्या किया? अपना पत्ता फेंका डिवाइड एंड रूल का. In East Bengal and in a way contributed to the rise of separatist tendencies. Provision of separate electorates, the enactment of the Morley-Minto reforms in 1909, providing for separate electorate for Muslim community showcased the deliberate British attempt to implement the devised communal policy. Subsequently, this provision was demanded by and conceded to other minorities like the Sikhs, Indian Christians, the Europeans and Anglo-Indians also. Lucknow session and the Home Rule movement. The events between 1911 and 1916 brought about significant changes in both the Muslim League. तो क्या change आया इसमें? And the Congress by 1930, both the organization had started coming closer. ठीक है? In 1937, session the Congress expressed its sympathy for maintaining territorial integrity of Turkey during Balkan Wars and espoused the cause of the Muslim in West Asia. In 1950, prominent Congress leaders also attended the annual session of the Muslim Leagues presided over by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. The 1960 session of the Congress, known for Lucknow Pact, was more significant as it brought the Muslim League and the Congress closer and also witnessed the reunion of the moderates and the extremists. This reunion was made possible largely due to the initiative taken by Annie Besant and Bal Gangadhar Tilak who led the Home Rule movement in India. The Lucknow Pact is an example of short-sightedness on the part of the contemporary national leadership. The Congress temporarily accepted the principle of communal representation, to which it was so far opposed. The two parties jointly demanded self-rule for India, but this unity was too transitory. The Home Rule Leagues. During the war, the Congress extended support to the British in the hope that they would fulfill its demand of civil government. Tilak was released from jail at 1914 after 6 years of imprisonment. In 1960s, had established the Home Rule League at Pune to attain self-government for India. Annie Besant to launch a similar Home Rule League at Adyavir, Madras. These two believed in constitutional method. There was a lot of enthusiasm among the people for the national cause. Leaders like C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru to join the movement. In 1917, the two Home Rule Leagues of Tilak and Annie Besant worked in cooperation with each other. Its branches were set up all over the country, and there was a popular demand for more rule. So, all topics are covered in this chapter. I hope you all have very well enjoyed it and very well understand this chapter. Thank you.